Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's March 7th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And here's a quick look at our daily chart with the envelope bands. And you can see I talked about this looking like topping action yesterday, and boy, was it. We had a really big bearish sell-off today. Unfortunately, I mean, there's still plenty of trades today, but this was not a clear, easy to find trend. There was a trend down, then a two-legged correction in the middle, and then another trend, and it really was broken to two or three different trends on the way down. So it wasn't one of those real simple days where it just steadily going down off a main key entry point or whatever, but it was all downhill for the most part, but it was just broken up into multiple trends. So we'll flip over there and take a look at it. But here's this is definitely a very opened way up here on its highs, trended all the way down and closed very near the low, not quite on this low, but definitely a very bearish day today. So um, it looks like maybe we'll continue to trend lower. But let's flip over there to the 2000 tick intraday chart, take a look at it, and go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day up. And just a reminder too, again, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to take off Thursday and Friday this week, so no YouTube lesson on Thursday, and I'll probably be pretty much out of pocket Thursday and Friday with limited access to email over the weekend. So anyway, let's flip over there and go through take a look at the chart and go through the trade. All right, you can clearly see we started off with this big trend down, and we really had a break here at a new low. This was all news related. You can see we just went sideways in that news. Uh, Powell testified today, and I haven't read much of it, but I did see a news highlight that said that the Fed had talked about continuing to raise rates, which they've been saying. I've been saying all along that we're not done with this. The economy's not really as good as it seems to be, and inflation's still crazy, and so they're going to have to keep raising rates, and it's just not. I knew that all along, even though people have been the news that's been coming out is, well, they're pretty much done with the rate raises, and it's just not possible. It's too much inflation, things, and the economy's they're really stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I'm not going to get into all that. We don't care about that. We just care what the market does, and the market is tanking right now. So, or at least it did today. But you can clearly see this break and a new low, and then we had this correction here, which it's really I didn't mark it, but there's really a two-legged correction here, and measure it from here to here and then here to here, and you can see it's a two, and that's usually the center of a pattern, and so then you would want to probably measure this and look for a measured move from there, and lo and behold, that's pretty much the low for the day. We went a little bit lower than that, but a lot of times it'll be right on the money, but that would have given you a great target if you got short up here or anywhere today. So um, if anybody ever tells you that there's no such thing as market geometry, and uh, don't believe them, because this happens way too often to be chance. So there it is. You can see mostly only shorts today. I think it's all shorts today. It's all downhill. Um, but anyway, let's zoom in here. Of course, no trades in this period right here with him speaking at 9. I mean, it's hard to judge when something's going to come out on this, but it looks like it, right at 9 o'clock, this thing sold out. Whether or not anything he said had anything to do with it, who knows? Maybe he didn't say anything till 9:40, and that's when it sold off again. But that's the problem with this. But I'd be sitting still for the most part into this news, because lately it seems like we have a big move right around that news time, and this came right around 9 o'clock. So I'm just going to assume this big sell-off was based on something he released or was going to or said or something. So anyway, 7 o'clock came on this move up here across this little area here, and we had a second entry short right off a key entry point here. Nice signal bar. Didn't go very far, and then you had a failed second entry long. So when it broke lower there, it's really a triple test is the way I would look at that. It doesn't really, it's too sideways to be a failure, so it's a triple test. And there's enough room to get out here, and this would have got you into a pretty good trade here, most likely. Maybe you get a runner there. Um, this one was really tempting here, both of those. Um, but again, I think you needed to be flat going into that 9 o'clock, so you would have missed all of this. And then we get a break outside of this real steep channel, and we just keep swinging low. And then finally, you get a second entry short here. Um, you, you may or may not have had this trend line. It doesn't matter if you had this one because you probably should have had this one anyway. This could be a spiking channel, so you want to put it on there. So there's a second entry short right off a key entry point, even if you didn't have this other trend line here, which you wouldn't have had it really confirmed yet. I really just drew it off these first two swings. And of course it turns down right there. Um, there's another, we tried to go higher again right here, but it's just, there's some support right there. We've had a break here at a new low. Again, it's right off the key entry point, so maybe you take that one too. But I'd probably sit tight on that one. We're dropping, then we drop on that. We're just getting too far away from the EMA here now. And we bounce. I don't see anything in there, and then we're bouncing. And if you draw your trend line here, then it looks like looks like we're going higher. We're probably headed back to at least up to this trend line, but we may reverse because we did have a break and a new low in place. So prices should be going higher here, but I don't see anything that would tempt me into going long here. In fact, I like the short here on the failure. Notice you got a first entry, second entry, and it fails pretty quick. So um, I don't think I would take it on this bar, although it is only 7 ticks. So maybe you enter on either one of them. As long as you got room to get out here before the low, I wouldn't have a problem taking this one either. And of course, it goes down, makes a new low, then a higher low, and then we're going the other direction. This one's tempting. I didn't mark it. It's another one you could argue to be green. It didn't get back to the EMA, but you can clearly see it bouncing off the midline right there. Actually, early on, I thought this was probably your upper trend channel line, but it looks like it's a midline. And when you get a second entry off of that, after that spike up, you'll probably get another leg up similar to that one. And of course, then you run up, break, a couple of swings up, and you make a new high. And it tries to go higher and fails. That's a big bearish bar, way away from the EMA. I like going short on that. It's a second entry short when it breaks lower. I don't think I would enter that on the engulfing bar because it broke higher and then turned down. I'd wait till this closes, and if it closes bearish, then there's probably a good chance it's at least going back to the EMA, if not turning down again. And of course, it turns down and off it goes. And I just don't see anything else down through there that's really high probability entry until it bounces, and you get a first entry, second entry. Now, truly by the count, there's a first entry, second entry, third entry. But this is basically a double bottom, and that's a leg up, first entry, second leg up, failure. And plus, it's a trend break, new high, big bearish bar. I like going short right there. And off it goes. It takes it a minute, but it really takes off again there. There's another second entry here, but that's too neutral. Notice the new low, first entry, and you really could look at that again as a double bottom. So you run down, then you got a triple bottom, and then you try to go higher twice. And again, that's a double bottom, so it's like a new low, and you get a first entry, second entry. So you got a failed second entry long and a second entry short with a nice signal bar. I like going short there. Pretty good move. Probably get a runner there, and then it bounces. Running up, you get a break. You get a couple of legs down here, a move to a new high. There's actually a second entry short right there, but I wouldn't take that. Moves on down, and then you just kind of get stuck in this range here. And this one is tempting because there's a triple test off previous support. I don't know if I'd take it or not. It's another one I probably should at least mark green. and it turns down again here, and we get this little breakout. Well, we just don't really get a good setup to go long there. Um, the last couple of times we came down off the EMA, so by the time this closes, I don't think you want to go long there, and you don't want to go short right back into these lows, so you can't really go short. And then finally you get the failure out the bottom, and then it fails out the top. Of course, you got a trend working up here, close outside new high. Maybe you take that trade. Um, I don't know if I'd take that one or not. I marked it green. It's probably going to fail on the breakout, even just long enough to come back and maybe test this. This should have taken off higher if we were going to go higher here, because you do get a quick double test. But this turned out to be a pretty good short move. And then we made a measured move down. I thought we might make a measured move down here. And this measured move is based on the width of the pink right there. And so that's what this is, a measured move down. And notice we didn't make a measured move up. We finally made the measured move down, but you can't enter in all that congestion, just sideways dojis and no bodies and just nothing there that would interest me in entering. This one's tempting because we did push out and pull back and make a higher low. It's just a first entry though. You could argue there's probably a triple test in there, so it's another one maybe you mark green. I'm not crazy about it, but you can see a lot of times those trades pay off. If you're going to be aggressive, that's the kind you want to be aggressive on. But it's just not a great setup. But anyway, we run up, you get a break. You tried to move to a new high, then you try to go higher once, twice, and there's a failure. And look at that big bearish bar. Just make sure you got enough room back down to this support. If you do, take that trade. There's a lower high, but it's right into it. I wouldn't take that. This is not good enough for a failure or reversal. Then you get two legs back with a second entry. Triple test, second entry, big bearish bar. That's a nice place to enter. And you probably wouldn't get a runner, but still a pretty good run down. And then we're just chopping sideways. We're not looking for a long, but notice the two legs up on the failed breakout. Notice when we came down, we went, this is the midline on this bigger channel here, this cyan color channel. And notice we shot through it. Prices almost always come back and test it. And there it is on a two-legged pullback. So that's a second entry short on a failed breakout that retests that midline. I like going short there, and that turns out to be a great trade. You probably get a runner that time. Runs down, bounces off the low end. You get a trend back up, a break, two legs to a new high, and there's another second entry short right there with, I think it's like 5 ticks. Very low risk. Take that trade. Right off the key entry point, it does confirm that key entry point too. And again, I don't know if you get a runner there. It depends on how you played it. Probably not. Drops on down, and then we get the break here. And really what we're doing is we're bouncing off the low of the cyan colored channel. We bounce there. I'm not crazy about going long. There is a failure right here that maybe you take. Notice the new low, first entry, second entry. I'm not crazy about it this late in the day. It does set up pretty nicely though. It is. The problem is there's been no break of this very strong khaki colored channel. And so there's a good chance you could get trapped here. That does confirm that trend line. So you'll probably get a scalp out of that, but I still think it's risky because there's a good chance prices might come back down and retest the low here on this khaki channel. But if you took it, it turns out to be a great trade. It's a little risky. And you get a break, move to a new high, and then you sell off again. But this is all after 2:30. So I don't see anything in here that would. It's tempting to go short right there, but you don't want to do that in this green channel that's working, because we may be headed back to at least the midline before we turn down. And guess what? That's where we end up going. But you get that correction and then a move up first. If this wasn't after 2:30, that would be a great spot to enter on that lower high right there, and you can see it takes off. But anyway, it's not one of those real clear days, you had to find these multiple trends in here, and it gets a little, I mean, it's mostly all downhill, but there are some nice little, you had this nice, the key is finding this two-legged correction and then looking for the measured move and understanding that that may be what's going on this next leg down. But it was hard to find the trend line, and you really had to play this short-term stuff in the meantime until we kind of finally got a second swing there and then could pull down and get enough price action to find the midline here. So it's not an easy one to find. This one was fairly easy to find here. Again, there's and a lot of times people ask me, why did I start here instead of starting at the very high? Well, the downtrend started right there because we're still in an uptrend trying to retest a high here. And if you try to play that, nothing fits. But if you try to play that it started here, it does. So you really just draw these where they fit the best. And so experience, you do this enough, you'll figure it out. And you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll start to see this stuff. But yeah, it doesn't always start at the very high swing if it's in the middle of the day like this. Usually you start at the high swing at the start of the day or the low swing. Even here, a lot of times you start at the high swing, but in this case, we're still, this hasn't quite played out here until we make a lower high. And then we make another lower high, and then you have to assume, hey, we're probably going lower, and it probably starts here. I mean, you can try to start it from here, but if you can't get it to work out, then try on the next swing. Just keep drawing it till you figure it out. You'll get better at it if it doesn't make sense yet. So people always ask me, how do you know? Well, it's just experience. When you do this for 25 years all day long every day, you get good at it. You start to see this stuff. I don't even have to draw the lines anymore. I can glance at the chart and see it. So anyway, that's going to do it. So again, I'm going to be gone Thursday and Friday, so tomorrow is basically Friday for me, and it'll be our last chart lesson for the week. So I'll see you Friday. I'm going to wrap it up for today. Hope you had a good trading day. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.